Hi, I'm Claire with the Yanowitz law firm, and today I'm on a third part series of where I'm talking about Minnesota estate tax. And today we're going to talk about how the Minnesota estate tax works if you're married. So first of all, I work at the Yanowitz law firm where we help families protect what matters most. We have been helping families with wills, trusts, and probates for 29 years. Okay, let's get started. So if you're married in Minnesota, things are a little less straightforward than if you're single. And let me kind of describe why that is. So in the first part of our series, we talked about how the Minnesota estate tax exemption is $3 million. And I find that a lot of my clients just assume that that means that if they're married, they just get 2 exemptions automatically. And I think a reason why they interpret the rule that way is because that's kind of how the federal estate tax exemption works. So as a reference point, right now we also have a nationwide estate tax, but the exemption for that is extremely high. It's $12,060,000 in 2022. So it's really high, and individuals who are married get 2 exemptions as long as they file a federal estate tax return at the first spouse's death and check a box where they elect portability. Okay, so they're able to get over $24 million as a couple on the federal level, and without really much planning involved. Okay, but it doesn't unfortunately work that way on the Minnesota level. You need to have a plan in place while you're alive, while both spouses are alive, in order to get more than one Minnesota exemption. Okay, because in Minnesota, how it works, if you pass everything directly to your surviving spouse, none of the first spouse's exemption is accounted for. It's literally just disappears, okay? And you just get 1 Minnesota exemption when the second spouse dies. So let's say Bob and Jane are married. When Bob dies, he just gives everything to Jane. At Jane's death, if she has more than $3 million, she will owe an estate tax to Minnesota. That's how it works, okay? So instead of passing everything directly to the surviving spouse, in Minnesota, you really need to have a will or trust in place, which at your death sets up a trust for the benefit of your spouse. Sometimes these trusts are called family trusts. Sometimes they're called credit shelter trusts. But basically how they work is if you want, your surviving spouse can be the trustee of this trust, and you can make it so that they can really have broad and flexible standards to withdraw the money if they need it. But if they don't touch the money in the trust and it's allowed to grow, then all of that money that they inherited from the first spouse at the second spouse's death, so all the money in that trust, isn't subject to estate tax. So let's go through an example. Okay, so we have Bob and Jane married again. At Bob's death, he gives Jane, not directly, but in a trust, in a credit shelter trust at his death, he gives her $2 million, okay? And she's the trustee of that trust. She's able to spend the assets as she needs them. But at her death, she has, let's say, $2.5 million in that trust. All of the assets in that trust can pass to their children estate tax free. And so that's a beautiful thing. So I think the moral of the story, or the conclusion, the punchline, in my opinion, is that it's important to get a plan in place while both spouses are alive. If you wait to, if you hold everything jointly, or just list your spouse as a beneficiary and everything. A lot of times people will say, well, this is a real, I don't need an estate plan. This is real easy. We'll just pass everything because we'll be joint owners. But if you have $3 million, over $3 million, there's a real downside to that in Minnesota. Because ultimately what can happen is you could end up with just one Minnesota estate tax because you're not putting any assets in a trust for the benefit of your spouse. And so you don't get to preserve any of the first spouse's estate tax exemption. So if you had any questions about this video, feel free to give us a call. Otherwise, stay tuned to learn more about estate planning on our YouTube channel. Thank you.